Hello, Ron McCoy back. Here it is on Friday, August 15, 2025. I took this job at Ross that I have talked about in previous editions. I officially started work on December 11, 2024. I happen to think that what I'm doing at Ross is very important, just like I felt like I was doing important work as a fifth grade teacher. Before starting at Ross, I made the vow to do my very best work. And even though this seems like a nothing job to some people, it is an important job. Not necessarily because of the work I am doing, working in the stockroom, that kind of thing, unboxing boxes and so forth, but because I feel as if I am influencing the people with whom I work. And I feel like I am setting a great example. I had this great message via YouTube from someone who took exception to what I had said in a previous edition about 20-somethings calling in all of the time and how they were front row in a front row seat to how low-paying jobs give nothing in return. And I think, thank you very much for writing those comments. However, I do appreciate you commenting on the video. I don't necessarily agree. I feel like if you're going to do something, you might as well do it the very best you can do it, regardless of what it gives back to you. And I guess that's the intrinsic part of me. I have to work really hard, otherwise I can't feel great about myself. Today, we have this new setup in the stockroom. I've mentioned that in the previous segment as well. And one of my fellow workers, his name is Danny, he's 28 years old, came bounding up to the front of the building. We were waiting for the manager to get there to unlock the building. And I warned him that what he would face is something completely different. And because it kind of hit me hard and some of the other people I've worked with, it's been quite a transition. And lo and behold, he did struggle with it just a little bit. And I don't know that he was necessarily too thrilled with it. I feel like I adapted to it better than he did. It's not necessarily because he's young that I expected him to be better able to accept the change, and that I'm older and I would be less responsive to the change. It just was kind of surprising to me how much trouble he had adapting to the new setup. And I was proud of myself for going into it with an open mind, much more than the younger people that I worked with. But there was also an older guy that's in his 50s who works in the stockroom as well. He just kind of said, interesting. It just depends on who you are. And I didn't mean to disparage young people in any way, shape, or form, because there are older people who also have the attitude of, I'm only getting paid $14 per hour. I'm not going to do anything above my pay grade. See, I've had a different attitude about that. Today, for example, I work just as hard as I know how to work. Before I left, I ran 2 racks of apparel. No one asked me to do it. One of the stockroom ladies, one of the apparel ladies, seemed to be genuinely appreciative of that. I really didn't run it to help her. I guess I kind of did. I did it because I knew I couldn't feel great about myself if I left those apparel racks just sitting there out in the aisles of the store. And that goes for a lot of things as well. I don't think it makes any difference how much you get paid. It makes a difference about how much you care. That is where the difference is. And I asked my manager one time about some question that a customer had about the price stickers and how hard they are to remove from little statuettes and so forth that she had bought. And I asked him, I told him about it, and he said, well, that's above my pay grade. Not really. It's not all about pay. I am in a comfortable position where I have my retirement from teaching, and I make virtually the same that I was making when I was a full-time teacher. And so I can be in this position of really truly focusing on doing the best work I possibly can. That goes with using grammar correctly, and I don't lord it over people, but I do set an example of using great grammar, and I don't use cuss words and so forth, which sometimes those cuss words are flying back and forth throughout the stockroom. And I continue to hold my head high. Months ago, a couple of people working in the stockroom said, you don't ever say any cuss words. You don't ever say any expletives. They didn't say expletives. And I said, no, I don't. I just don't feel like that's appropriate. I said, it's fine if you want to. It doesn't bother me. I have noticed, though, that the number of incidences where they use four-letter words has dropped considerably. I don't know if it's because I was influencing them or not. Anyway, I mentioned in the last segment that across the street from me, my sister lives, her daughter, my niece, who's 25 years old, and her boyfriend lives there, my niece's boyfriend, who's 22. And my sister messaged me this morning, well, I discovered it this morning, saying that Kaysen has seen a notification that Ross is hiring sales associates for the early shift, and she wanted to know if that was the same thing I was doing, a sales associate. And I said, yes, tell him to apply. Now, she didn't respond, but I'm hoping he actually gets to work over there. I think it would be a great experience. $14 per hour is not a whole lot, but the experiences that come with it, and learning responsibility and showing up on time and doing your best work, even if you're not getting paid a super amount of money, that is an important thing to do. I stand by that. And I'm hoping that same person who posted about that video and took exception about what I was saying about young people, 20-somethings, I hope this person continues the dialogue, and anyone else who wants to comment, because I think that would be a great way for me to learn from that person's perspective, and that person hopefully to learn from my perspective. We'll see. Anyway, when I got home from work today, part of my relaxation involved unreeling a 16mm film, the first third of it. I have 9 to 5 from 1980 with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin and Dolly Parton and Dabney Coleman in that movie. I have that on 16mm film, and I watched the first segment, and I think it's really hilarious. I hadn't seen it in a long time. I think it's pretty funny, the workplace dynamics and so forth. I laughed a lot because of the similar, there's the thumbs up, must like me, the similarities between what those workers are going through and what I go through on a daily basis. Not really a whole lot has changed in the workplace in 45 years. And of course, 45 years ago, I was working at Worlds of Fun, and that too paid very little. In 1980, for a big chunk of the season, I was still a black tag, the lowest possible rank. And I think we were getting paid something like $2.65 per hour, or maybe even lower than that. And I worked hard, regardless of the fact that I didn't get paid much. I remember I had talked to a man named Craig Powell. He was a 20-something as well. He was third in command in food service. And I had talked to him about the prospect of getting promoted to management. And he came by and watched me clean patios. And then he called me to his office and said, I am very impressed by how you, pardon the language, bust your butt to keep those tables clean. So I am going to promote you to assistant manager. And lo and behold, I was promoted to the assistant manager of the works. And that was a learning experience, because I went in and I don't think people truly wanted me to be there. I was thinking probably the people who were already working in that unit. It was at the far end of a place called Bicentennial Square. I think they thought someone within the works would get promoted to assistant manager, but there I was, and I put in my time. I worked hard. I remember I was cleaning things. They all thought I was crazy. Likewise, at Ross, I think when I first started, they all thought I was crazy because I worked so hard. And I never, they still say, well, and I don't take breaks either. And people still comment on, you don't ever take a break. I said, I don't want to slow down my momentum. Again, I feel like I am setting a great example, and it seems like I'm setting a great example for those who are in their 20s because or early 30s, because we have several of those people who work there. Love working with those people. And I also am in contact with a number of my former students, especially one of them. He and I get together and eat at Pizza Shop every 5 to 6 weeks, and he is a go-getter. I tell you, he has more than one job. And this boy, his name is Andrew, he tackles everything with characteristic zeal. I just love to sit and listen to him talk about, he has anywhere between 2-3 jobs at a time. There aren't enough hours in the day for Andrew, who's 19, to get everything accomplished that he wants to get accomplished. And he's about to go back to school. If he hasn't already, he goes to Maple Woods, and he's not even sure he's going to go to a 4-year college. He wants to continue his work experience and make his way in the world based on his work experience in these various places, and I laud him for that. I don't think it is necessarily necessary, pardon the redundancy there, to go to college if you don't truly feel that college is going to further your goals. And that is definitely Andrew. And I am going to continue to talk about work ethic and so much more as these RM Real Moments continue, because I feel like this could be a platform to share views on life, views on work ethic, views on the differences between 20-somethings, 30-somethings, and mid-60-somethings, because I feel like with that platform comes a lot of learning. So if you are so inclined, please comment, and I will do likewise. And in the meantime, have a glorious Friday.